Welcome to the Little Wins Podcast, where school leaders share their little wins that build strong culture, with your host, Karen Borchert. Welcome to Little Wins, where we talk with education leaders about the small but powerful things they're doing to build strong, positive school cultures. I'm your host, Karen Borchert, and today's guest is Gus Carter. Gus is a seasoned educational leader currently serving as the principal of Guilford High School in Rockford, Illinois. Gus has an amazing story of rising to leadership early in his career that I know you're going to love. Gus has consistently focused on building collaborative school cultures that support academic achievement and personal growth. And his philosophy on culture and his open door policy are things that we can all learn from. Welcome to the show, Gus.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure.
It's great to have you. Well, let's get right on into it. Will you tell us a little bit about kind of your story and how you became one of the younger principals in your state, I believe, and at an early age, and just a little bit about your journey in education.
Yeah, sure. So I actually reluctantly got into education. Which I think is kind of an interesting story. A lot of people that become school leaders usually have somebody in their world at some point in time that talks to them as a teacher, and they see some leadership capabilities, and they approach them and, hey, have you ever thought about being a principal or being a school leader? But I actually came from a family of educators, and when I was in college, I consistently told people I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up, but the one thing I'm never going to do is be a teacher. I was never getting into education. But, life decisions happen. One thing leads to another. I loved history. And so I was studying that in school. Had every intention of going to law school, but did not enjoy some internship experiences that I had and recognized that career was not for me. I spent a long time as an athlete and captains of sports and things like that, and kind of always saw myself as a leader. And actually one day my mom came up to me after I graduated from college and I was getting married, and she was like, I don't know what you're going to do with your life. I don't know what you're going to do with a degree in history, but you should probably get into teaching. You should probably be a school administrator. You'd be a fantastic principal. And so it just kind of got me thinking about, those opportunities and the things that I could do. So I went back to school. I was able to get into a program here locally that helped those of us that have undergrads already and get into teaching without having to go back through an entire 4-year degree. So helped me go back to my degree in teaching. And then I started out actually at a high school here in Rockford on the other side of town. Had no idea what I was getting myself into. Really didn't have much experience with our public school system here in Rockford. And I just instantly got attached to the kids. Always been in a high school setting, and it just kind of felt right for me. I've never felt like I've been out of place working with high schoolers. Teaching government and economics and psychology, criminal law, primarily dealt with a lot of seniors. So really the older of the oldest in high school. And just have always been drawn to it. So very quickly, I knew that my career path was to always be a school leader at that point. I jumped right into an admin, a principal preparation program at Northern Illinois University. They had actually just changed the program over. So Illinois went from what we called a type 75, which was an endorsement in of itself, to then we had professional licenses that we just added on to. And so I was actually in the first cohort that launched after they had suspended their principal preparation programs for some time to retool. Interesting experience. I did that for a year. It's a 2-year program. I did that for a year, commuting outside of Rockford to make it happen. And within the course of that time, I actually was having a conversation with my new building principal at that time, and he had asked about getting into administration early, and I hadn't really thought about that. My goal was 7 years in the classroom minimum, and then after that, I'd start looking for roles. At this point, I was in the classroom for 3 years, and he was like, "Hey, you ought to consider, getting into admin." And so I finished my 4th year of teaching. I finished my 1st year of my admin program, and then the very next year, I jumped into an assistant principal / dean role in the high school that I had been currently teaching at. So I'm in my 5th year of education overall. And I'm evaluating teachers. I'm doing discipline. I'm running academy teams, which is, teachers, counselors, kids. And I think I was maybe 26, 27 at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like trial by fire, but it was great. I learned so much in my second year. Doing my internship in administration while actually being in the role was a huge help for me. And then I just sort of moved into what we call them a 12-month role in our district, but it's an associate principal. It's an assistant principal of curriculum and instruction, which meant, I was kind of the right hand to the new principal that had come in. I did that for 2 years. And then the principal at the school that I was at actually had just previously left another high school in our district, and that school had become available. So she knew a lot about it. She knew a lot about Guilford. She'd been a principal here for 3 years herself. And she's like, hey, they probably already have somebody in mind for that role. Like you should apply just to get interview experience. Like it was sort of like a stress-free, not offensively, but you're probably not going to get the role. Yeah, no pressure. Go see what it's like, because she kept telling our supervisor that when she's done, which she was going to be done in a couple years, that I would be the next principal of that building. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I let's go get some experience. In the back of my mind, I knew that the building that I'd started teaching in, I knew that would be a little bit of a struggle to transition into a principal role in, because a lot of the teachers there, like they saw me when I was 23, 24 years old as a first year teacher. Like, it's kind of like the analogy of like your parents, like no matter how old you are, like they always changed your diaper. Like they remember, that era for you. And so like, that was largely what I felt like it was going to be like. Like, how would I be in a position where I'm mentoring and supervising very veteran teachers that saw me as a 24-year-old? So I kind of knew in the back of my mind that maybe I had some kind of a time frame in which I had to probably take a leap of faith and jump out and do something different. So I was like, what, whatever. What's it going to hurt? Let's interview. Let's see what it's like to interview for a principal job. 2 rounds later, the assistant superintendent at the time called me and was like, hey, are you ready to come up? Like, basically, you're ready to come up to the big leagues. And I was like, oh, sure.
That wasn't expected.
No. And I think I was 30 when he called me. And I had a 4-month-old, I think, at the time.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd been married for a while. I had a 4-month-old. I was 30 years old, and transitioning to be the principal of a large, urban high school, 2,000 some kid urban high school that I'd never really been in, other than just the interview again in the district. And 8 years later, I would never look back and change anything. It was a whirlwind of an experience, and I've enjoyed almost every moment of it.
Almost every moment of it. I love it. Yeah. How surreal was it to like walk in and be like, oh, this is my office. Like this principal, like that's my name on the door. Like, was it like that a very strange experience as kind of a 30-year-old who is just practicing interviewing experience?
I was certainly still feeling, and largely even 8 years later, I'm still sort of feeling that imposter syndrome. Like, I'm like, man, when are they going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing. It certainly felt like that. Obviously in education, like July 1 is the big transition. Like that's when new school years kind of, so to speak, start in our world. And so on July 1st, I walked into the building and there was a set of keys on the desk and a notebook from the previous principal with a lovely letter. And wishing me luck, and a note from our superintendent, like wishing me luck. And at that point, I'd already worked on like a 30, 60, 90-day transition plan with our assistant superintendent, who's going to be my supervisor. And I kind of had to sit there for a minute and just like take it all in. And it's definitely been kind of like that surreal ride of kind of looking back on that. And our school has a newspaper, and it's called The Voyager. And they did a couple like little news pieces on me my first year as a principal. Okay. And there was one that they did early on in the fall, like August, September, when we first started. Yeah. And I've looked back on that because there's a picture of me with some kids, and I'm like, wow. Whoa, it's like looking at pictures of presidents, right? Like you look at them when they enter office, and you look at them 4 or 8 years later, and you're like, it's different.
It's different.
It's different. I couldn't believe that people took me seriously at that age, but we made it work, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, tell me, you mentioned, kind of veteran teachers and kind of coming into that role at a relatively early in your career overall. And you've got, I think, I imagine teachers in the building that have been there longer than you've been teaching, maybe longer than you've been in education. What was that like? How did you build trust with those teachers?
So I knew coming in, I knew I was young, and I knew I didn't spend that much time in the classroom, and I knew that would be a hurdle to overcome because I was actually inheriting, in terms of seniority, one of the oldest buildings in the district. Teachers that came to Guilford stayed at Guilford. There are teachers that are here that have been here for 20, 25, 30, even upwards of close to 40 years. So I knew that was going to be a hurdle to overcome. And honestly, I don't know that there's, the moral of the story for me today is probably going to be there really isn't a lot of magic. I don't know that there's really any sort of like special tool or technique other than just what I have always tried to do as a leader is number one, serve others first. I'm not in this for my ego. If I was, I wouldn't have been here very long. And so my role here is to ensure that I am a servant first, and that I understand that while I love working with kids and I love being around them and helping them and supporting them, my teachers largely do the biggest lift possible, and I need to ensure that they have everything that they need to meet the needs of the kids, regardless of what age you're at, regardless of what year you're at. And so I tried to spend a lot of time with those teachers. I knew the rumor about me was that I was young and, didn't spend too long in one single place. And so he's only here to sort of like step on our backs to get up into a bigger role somewhere else. And, so I wanted to make sure that people understood, like, I was going to be visible. I was going to be available. And I was going to sort of try and break down those barriers, just one conversation at a time. I wasn't going to try to win them over the first day. I was going to try to just work with them day in and day out, be in the trenches with them, so to speak, and just allow them to see the inner workings of what we do as a principal. And then I think over the course of several years, people started to recognize, like, hey, he really isn't, like, this really is something that he's passionate about, and he likes it here, or he's doing well, or, whatever the case may be. I'm sure we always are going to have naysayers, people that still think, something different. But it honestly was just day-to-day conversations. Genuinely, how are you in the morning? And actually not walking by and saying that, but like
so
caring about what your answer is. Karen, how are your kids? How's your family? Just great opportunities to, get to know people on a different level than just like, you're my colleague and I'm your superior and you're my subordinate. And I think that makes a huge difference.
That's so good. I love that. You talked about, and I want to go back to, sort of making sure that you're being open with people about kind of the inner workings of being a principal, and that concept of transparency, is something you hear a lot, comes up a lot. Talk a little bit about how you do that as a leader today. What do you do to help kind of create that transparency or create that seat at the table for everyone on your team? Will you talk a little bit more about that?
There's a couple different ways that I try to go about that. Number one, with my admin team, I've got there's 7 of us total on my administrative team, and we meet every Friday. It's probably honestly one of my favorite times. I know people hate meetings and we hate agendas and things like that, but over the last 8 years or so, I think we've really refined it into a place where we really enjoy it, and we actually get upset when we don't get to sit down together. But one of the things that I really try to do there is just ensure that everybody's voice is heard. My team has worked with me for a long time. We have a lot of history together, which is rare in this world, in this day and age. And I think they value the fact that I'm not really type A, in the sense that I don't really have control in that sense. If I ask you how we should do something, I genuinely want to know what your opinion is. And I genuinely coming from a place where it isn't they're trying to figure out what I want or what it is that we're supposed to do. And that just comes with, again, when you have those genuine conversations and people recognize, like, oh, he took my idea. right? And then you give
Yeah.
that credit back to that person or whatever. It's just a simple thing like that. Like, I don't take credit for the wins. I take credit for the losses and own up to when we fail. And then I give the credit to the admin or to the team or to the people that did the thing that we wanted to do. And when you do that enough, the people in your care start to see that, like, you're listening, right? Like, he really doesn't have an agenda here. There really is a time to collaborate, and he has actually listened to what we want to do, and we do that. When it comes to like the staff as a whole, my work, my job as a principal is to be here for them and to be here for the students. So I get my principal, right? I put that in quotes, like my principal-y tasks. Those are done outside of school hours. You know, I still have a family and I have a lot of boundaries in place for doing that. But, you know, I do a lot of that work like when my students and when my staff are not present and they don't need me. Because my office is open. My door is open. And if it's open, it means that I'm available to speak with you. And I don't need you to set an appointment with me. I don't need, if you want to do that because it's serious enough that we need to do something like that. But if you're just like a teacher and you're on prep period and you just want to sit and be like, man, I don't know what happened last hour. Or, hey, like, I want to talk to somebody, and like Carter's door is open. Absolutely. You come on in and we'll chat and we'll talk about nothing or we'll talk about everything. And when you do that enough, people start to genuinely see you as a real person. We talk about that with teachers all the time. When students see you as a genuine, real person and not a robot that lives in a closet that we wheel out when the bell rings to teach a class, like you're actually out in the community and you're genuine and you care, it makes a huge difference. And it's just something easy, right? Like, my door's open, you come in. I might be super busy and I might be really stressed, but if somebody comes in and they want to talk to me, like, I'm going to figure out how to push that aside, and I'm going to figure out how to meet your needs, because that's my job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I love about that solution is that it's 100% free, right? It's very, very simple to communicate. It's an easy, it's just, if my door is open, I'm ready for a conversation with you. No appointment required is such a simple thing for people to remember, for people to know. It's visual, as your staff or as people walk by your office, knowing that if your door is open, that you're ready to talk with them is, kind of the simplest and freest little solution you could have for building culture. That's really cool. Tell me a little bit. So I know we've talked a little bit about about physically opening the door. I think that's super cool. Talk a little bit about getting out in the hallways. You've told me a little bit about that before, and I love your guys' work around this. Tell me a little bit about being in the hallways.
Yeah. So running a large urban school, or what I would consider large. I know there's bigger schools, but a relatively large urban school means that, like, it's obviously going to come with complexities, and there's going to be problems. Like, we're just going to deal with problems. That's the nature of what we do, and I'm okay with that. Part of the work that we do is when I onboard people, especially on my admin team or our support team, if you're like in an office kind of situation, you work on 50-minute schedules. So our bell schedule is 50-minute class periods. And my expectation for all of the people that work with me is that when that bell rings, no matter what you're doing, you're in a meeting, you're talking to a teacher, you're, whatever it is, you go to the hallway. And then you spend the next 5 minutes, which is our passing period, socializing with the teachers that are standing at their door, greeting kids, and talking to kids in the hallway. That's probably the most genuine conversations I've ever had. Kids and teachers get mad when they don't see, like, the certain people that they traditionally see. They'll call you out on it. Which means largely it's working. I just had a teacher yesterday, because I had a busy day and I was out of the building for a while. Came to me in the afternoon. Was like, "Hey, man, what's up? You don't like me anymore? I didn't see you this morning," right? Because I always stand in his area, and we'll talk. We'll talk about school, or we'll talk about nothing. The bell rings, kids are in the classroom, and then you go back to whatever it is that you're doing. And so I will make people go with me. If you're in a meeting with me, if you come, say, from outside of the school, if you're like my supervisor, or you're a central office employee, or you're an outside, organization or group coming in, like, I'll pause the meeting. And I'll say, "Excuse me, I need to go out in the hallway," and we hang out with kids. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Sometimes people will come with me. It's a great opportunity to just kind of see what Guilford is all about. Sometimes they just sit in the office. We've done it in interviews. We'll be in the middle of an interview, and, hey, pause, time out, like good for you. You get a 5-minute breather. You can gather yourself back up. We'll all be back. And I don't mind doing it. I don't think it's rude. I think other people might view that as, like, wow, you're just getting up and leaving a meeting, but we address what it is and why. We don't just get up and walk out. I think it sets the right tone. And I also think it sends the right message to the people that support us and look at the work that we do to see, like, kids matter, students matter, and they matter so much that my team knows, like, every 50 minutes when that bell rings, my expectation is you're in the hallway. And it does a lot of things, right? Like we get a lot of birds with that one stone. Number one, you get a lot of interaction with students and teachers, which is great, right? That's positive culture building right there. Number two, it's supervision, right? We know that kids are going to misbehave, and we know that adults are going to misbehave if people aren't around and available. And number three, it gets us in front of so many situations. So many kids and teachers, when they see somebody in the hallway and it's convenient, will come up to you. Hey, so-and-so said this. Hey, we're hearing rumors about that. Hey, teacher X is struggling with student Y. And it gets you in that right frame of mind to like, now I have these problems that I can get in front of before they become big problems. I've pulled kids out of the hallway after passing period and come to my office and just talk through many problems because they see you and they're like, I'm having a bad day, or you can just see it on their face. Like something is off.
Something's off.
And so I don't know that I could tell you, like, I'm not the data guy. Hopefully you can tell through our conversation, like I'm very much the relationship guy. And so I put data people around me to support that weakness in my life. But I don't know that I could point to like data that would say this is successful, other than I know we have stopped problems from getting worse. And that's, how many we've stopped or whatever the case may be. Like, I don't know that I would, but I don't even know that I'd want to put data to that because it's just important enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you said something else that I think is another reason that it's awesome. You mentioned, your teachers are out in the hallway, they're talking to each other. I think one of the things you hear from teachers all the time is like, I'm in my classroom. I'm the only adult I see all day. I'm in my classroom all day long, with these fourth graders or these 10th graders or whatever. And, and you don't get a lot of time for a lot of adult interaction with your peers or with your colleagues, which can be really lonely. I mean, there's a lot of talk right now about kind of loneliness at work, and that can drive that. So I think the idea that, everybody gets up and opens the door to their own classroom and gets out into the classroom and talks to one another is like, you get an added bonus of that in addition to all of the benefits of having that interaction with students. I think the interaction with one another is a huge culture builder. Do you feel like that it creates that sort of shared trust or shared experience among your teams?
I would hope that it does. One of the questions that we always get when we interview teachers for new positions is, at the end, you're obviously like, all right, now, what kind of questions do you have for us as a school? And of course, like new teachers coming in, one of the major questions is like mentorship, right? And the way we actually answer that question is twofold. We say you have a formal mentor, program that we have with the district that you'll get assigned. And then you'll have informal mentorship, which is the people in your hallway. Where do I go to make copies? How do I deal with this situation? A lot of times you're going to have something happen in a class period. That bell is going to ring. It's an instant break for you. Whatever is going on, that whatever you're dealing with is going to stop when that bell rings. You can get out in the hallway and there's going to be a teacher standing next to you. There's going to be a teacher across the hall. Those become your support network. You might walk over to one of our teachers as a new teacher and be like, you've been here for 30 years. What just happened to me? And you have that very quick support system. And maybe it's only 5 minutes, but it's a big relationship. And a lot of times that becomes your informal mentorship and your family or the people in your hallway with.
Well, and it's 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes multiple times in the day. Right. And
correct,
it's eyes on another person. It's saying, hey, I noticed you were out the last few days sick. Welcome back. I'm so glad to see you. How are you feeling? And that takes 10 seconds, but that that means, so on the other end of that is somebody saying, hey, somebody noticed I was out. Hey, somebody is wondering about my well-being. Hey, somebody wants to, somebody cares for me. And that 10 seconds can actually make the difference in your entire day and how you feel when you walk back into that classroom a few minutes later. So I love that practice. I think, and I love that you take people that are in from outside of the building out to the hallway with you on that. I think that's really cool. That's very cool. Tell me a little bit about, kind of beyond those things. What does recognition look like, especially at a school? You have a big school, right? So how do you make sure you are, seeing and recognizing the achievements, the accomplishments of your team of kids? But what does recognition look like in a school this big?
Yeah, that's a very loaded question. We have tried so many things over my time here, and again, I found, and I guess it's the title of what we're talking about, but I've just found those little things make a huge difference. Genuine praise, recognition for an actual real thing, which I know sounds weird, but as school leaders or just as leaders in general, when you have a large organization, it's really easy to sort of send out that like all staff email and be like, hey, great job today. Proud of but like, what are you proud of? What was the great job? Like, great. So we just try to be very specific. We have cards that we printed up. It's got our logo on it, kind of just nothing fancy, but they're like our own genuine thank you cards. They don't say anything. They're blank. And they're available for anybody to grab them, write a little note on it, stick it in somebody's mailbox. We try to do little things like that all the time where it's specific. Karen, saw you interacting with a student in the hallway today. Loved the conversation that I heard. How cool was that? Like just little things like that so people see that you're noticed. And again, like that can't happen enough. We could probably be doing that all day, every day. And I'm sure, we miss a lot of things, but we did actually try to systematize it this year. And we kind of took a page out of the elementary playbook. We started an initiative. It's an acronym. We call it Guilford Pride. So it's PRIDE, prepared. So like what we do is teachers have little cards and they can nominate students. They can nominate as many students as they want every single week. They give the card to the kids. So number one, it's recognition for that student because they see that the teacher is nominating them for being empathetic or being dependable or being involved or responsible or, whatever. And then they put them in a box in my office for each letter. And then at the end of every week, we draw names. We have a winner for each letter.
Cool.
And I literally make an announcement every Friday. I've always done this since I started here. I make a Friday morning announcement, and it's not really related to like school activities because we have student council that does morning announcements.
Right.
Mine is very much let's stay determined. Let's get motivated. It's like life lesson type stuff. It's like a little morning, like how you doing Friday kind of thing. And so now we've added in, I announce the Pride winners. They come down, they get a little treat, Pop-Tarts, Takis, gum, candy bar, whatever. It's something huge.
You can solve everything with Takis.
Oh yeah, for sure. Then we take a picture. They each hold, we have these big like vinyl letters. Each kid holds their letter and I hold the Guilford logo. And we throw it up on all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, all that. And so every single Friday morning, there's a picture of me with 5 Guilford students being recognized for something that they've done. Parents will respond. They love the pictures. The kids kind of think it was a joke at first, and then they recognize like, oh, they do this every week. Like, oh, this is serious. And then we recognize a teacher every single week. Teachers nominate each other. And then we'll be like, hey, when I announce like, hey, student Karen won for being prepared today, and you were nominated by X teacher, right? Like we're just trying to build that culture where you see a teacher and a teacher sees you. And then we'll also announce the teacher winner. And we'll say like, hey, Gus nominated by Karen, like cool to kind of be recognized by your peer. And it's just really simple. And then the teacher winner, we actually go and we bombard their class second hour. We bring in a team of people and you get to pick a little prize, kind of the same thing as the students. Like it's just a little, like notebooks and pens and like just fun teacher stuff. We all love supplies. I know you got like, that's kind of the nature of what education is all about. We're all pen nerds or notebook or whatever. Like we love stickers. And so they pick out a little prize, and then we take a picture with their class. We praise them
That's
up.
awesome.
We actually had this year, one of the teachers that won, I made the announcement. And then ironically, I was actually going into her classroom to do a classroom observation. And the team was like, "Oh man, like it's sad, like we can't come in." And I was like, 100% you can come in. Like this is 100% a reflection of her observation. Please come in and disrupt her classroom. Like 4 minutes of you guys celebrating her and letting her kids celebrate her and giving her a prize is not going to reflect poorly in like me evaluating you as a teacher. I think it shows what a positive thing you are to these kids. So we absolutely let them come in. Like I'm sitting there taking notes and doing my observation thing. And I put it in the observation. Like you got to recognize my staff member. It's 100% appropriate. And so we're just trying to break down those barriers and those stereotypes. And one thing that I will say, like, that I'm really proud of, about 5 years ago, I have a real deep passion for working with these kids. And I know that a lot of our kids deal with a lot of things in and out of school that are really difficult. And I have always grown up with supportive families and friends. And like, I know what that means to me. And so 5 years ago, at the end of every single Friday message, I say, I love you all. I just, it is what I say. It's like my sign off. When it first started, people were like, what are you doing? Like, that's so weird. They're high schoolers. They're 17, 18-year-old kids. Like, what are you doing? I committed to it. I was like, you know what? Everyone needs to hear it every day. Everyone needs to hear that someone loves you. Like, it has to happen.
That's right.
5 years later, I have said it every Friday morning. And there are a couple times where I forget and I get ridiculed so hard.
Oh my gosh.
At this point. And so
obviously it means something to them. Like the fact that they will come at you if you forget to say it means that like they want to hear that. Like they want to hear those words.
And now I'll be walking in the hallway. I started it 5 years ago because I was recognizing that in a school this big, going back to like, how do you try to recognize people in such a large organization? Started to recognize that like largely people didn't really know who I was unless you had a conversation or an interaction with me. Like I'm just a guy in the hallway to a lot of our kids.
Yeah.
And so I figured, you know what? I can't talk to everybody individually. It's impossible. But what I can do is I can use my PA and I can get my voice out there. And then that way, when kids hear me in the hallway, they might be like, "Oh, I recognize your voice. Now I'm putting a face to the name." And I will say, largely 5 years ago, I've started to get a lot more like kids talking to me in the hallway than what I got before that, because you start to break down those barriers. And now I'm getting kids in the hallway that are like, "Love you too, Mr. Carter. Love you too." And I'll be like, "Love you," and like it's positive messaging. Our seniors left the building last Friday, and so of course they have to do it's senior prank season. And like I got to be honest, like I'm a grown man and running a high school, and like I walked into the building for the senior prank, and I teared up because in front of my office window where we have like a big vinyl decal that says main office, they covered it up with paper and they just spray painted "Love you all." Like it's
oh my gosh.
It's just become largely, part of our culture. It's just kind of like a part of what we do. And I just think like, if you don't appreciate it, I understand. That's fine. Like if that's not your world, that's fine. But if there are kids out there that didn't hear that today, like I'm going to say it to you. And if there are kids out there that like, you're afraid to like break down barriers or break down walls, like then I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to show you that vulnerability is okay. I'm going to show you that it's okay that we talk to each other like that. I sign off my emails when I send them to parents that way. It's just, I just say, I love you all. Like, that's just what we do. And I've had parents ridicule me for it. They think it's weird. And you know what? I keep going because the intention is there and it's real. And again, like those are just, it didn't cost me anything to do that. It's just genuinely who we are. It's genuinely the culture that I want to create. And I want kids to think twice when they want to be mean to each other and be like, you know what, Mr. Carter, that doesn't fit with the vibe. Doesn't fit with who we are.
No, like No, it does. I mean, it really doesn't. That's honestly, I'm kind of speechless by this one. This is like such a cool, I mean, what a tiny thing that makes such a huge impact, first of all. And also like, I think the fact that you really kind of doubled down on it, that like, people were like, what are you doing? That's weird. And you were like, I love you all. Like, and I'm going to keep saying it. And then like you get kids in the hallway saying that back to you. Like you're teaching kids that it's okay to say those words and to show that kind of vulnerability. You're showing that to your teachers. Like that is the most high impact little win that I think I've heard yet. Honestly, I think it's like one of the coolest things. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's amazing. All right. Well, we always close our episodes with 3 questions. I think we sent them to you in advance. Are you ready for 3 questions today?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Actually, you may have already answered this first one, but we're going to ask anyway. What are the 3 words that you want to define your school culture?
Love you all.
That's what I figured. That's amazing. That's great. Okay. What is one little win you personally have had at work lately that we can celebrate?
I think it's got to be that senior prank. I think that was a big moment for me to see that it's something that I say, but it's recognized by the kids. And, I sent the picture. Of course, I took a picture of it, and, I sent it to my family because they all know that I do it. But then also I sent it to my supervisor, and she was like, I'm in tears.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's impactful for everybody to see something so simple be such a big deal.
So cool. All right. 3rd question. What do you believe that any educator can do to improve their school culture right now?
I think it comes down to genuine relationships. I think it doesn't matter what time of year you are in. Take a moment and recognize, the simple thing, am I asking you how your day is going because it's cordial and we cross each other in the hallway? Or am I actually asking you how your day is going? And am I genuinely going to sit down with you at some point in time if you tell me I'm not doing well today? I'm struggling. I'm having a hard time, and do that with each other. Do that with kids. Education is important, and learning is very important. And don't get me wrong. Like curriculum matters, but none of that matters if we are not in a place where we actually can learn. Right? If I'm not in a place as a teacher where I can actually teach, and you're not in a place as a student where you can actually learn, then we're Charlie Brown in each other. Nobody's listening to anybody, and it won't matter. So, I tell teachers all the time, like, if you need to take a day and you need to do an activity with your kids to get them back to center, or you need to take an opportunity to not teach today to do something that's just relevant for everybody that gets people back in the right frame of mind, you have my permission. I'm never going to walk into your room and be like, you're not on day 57 of lesson 21. Like it's never going to happen. I'm never going to do it. I actually tell teachers when we onboard you as a new staff, try not to teach curriculum for the first 2 weeks. Try to do something different.
Really?
Try to do something different with kids for 2 weeks. How are you going to build the culture in your classroom? How are you going to let kids get to know you, and how are you going to get to know them? And then that will pay off for whatever you lose at the end of the year in terms of curriculum that you can't get through anyways, right? Like we always struggle to get through everything we want to get through in a year anyways. That will pay off in February and March and April when everybody's frustrated and tensions are high and we're tired. That will pay off later on, and you will get further with kids. Trust me. I always get a little upset when I walk by a classroom on day 1 of school and I see them standing in front of the classroom with the syllabus in hand. I get a little bit upset about it. Because you've got to genuinely build relationships with each other. Teachers, staff, admin, students. It's got to happen. So that's a little thing that I would say anybody in the teaching world right now could do. Does not cost you any money, does not require any training, does not require PD or contracts or anything. Just genuinely care about one another and have deep conversations with each other.
Yeah. Man, I love that. I think the idea, I just want to just really quick roll back to this, the idea that you tell teachers to spend 2 weeks building culture in their classrooms is like, that is a sneaky, amazing trick. Like, first of all, like you get like what you said about like you get the win back in January, February when nobody, everybody's tired and cold and everything else. But also it also sets the precedent for how you operate as a school and as a team. If everybody's building culture in their classrooms and creating relationships with their students and creating relationships with one another, that sets a completely different example for the school overall, which is, one that is built of like strong culture and true relationships and authenticity. What do the teachers, I got to ask, what do the teachers do when if you're like, go build culture for 2 weeks in your classroom? What kinds of stuff do they do?
A lot of them will still, like, you can still get teaching in, right? Because a lot of the things that we're trying to do are teach skills anyways, so if you're jumping into your content right away, I mean, I get it if that's what you want to do, like, sure. Right. But a lot of our teachers are just recognizing, like, if I'm an English teacher, right, it's not my background, but maybe I do a lot of writing with my kids. Yeah. And they don't like the kids don't recognize because they're writing about themselves or they're writing about what they did over the summer. Right. Or they're writing about something unique. You get to know them. Yeah. They don't think they're learning, but you're also getting to know their writing. You're getting to learn where they're at. Like, there are a lot of, like you said, there are a lot of sneaky ways to utilize time where kids don't think that they're learning, but they are. And you're also learning about them. And so, they'll obviously, like, you have the typical icebreaker activities and the typical, like, just let's get to know each other and let's play some games. And there's time and place for that. And that's great. And I love those. We have, like, there's somebody else turned me on to this, so I can't take credit for it, but there's like a Jenga game out there. Where when you pull a Jenga tile, there's a question on it and you have to answer the question. And put it back. Like, oh, cool. We bought like 30 of those and we just tell staff, like, they're available. Use them at the beginning of the year. Take 5 or 6 of them in your classroom, have kids do stuff like that. It's great questions. Cool. And then again, like, like, if you're a science teacher, like, do some labs that you never get to that you always want to do that, it doesn't matter if there's prior learning. Like, you can teach lab safety, right? Like, kids are getting hands-on and you're doing lab safety, but like, they don't think they're learning. You're making ice cream or, whatever. Right. Utilize those opportunities to not jump right into, like, here's the syllabus. Here's what you're going to do. Yeah. Here's the first homework assignment. Turn your books. Just utilize those opportunities to do things that you want to do. And use it to get to know kids. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a lot more fun as an educator also. Like, it sounds like a really an extraordinary way to start your year and to kick things off. That's awesome. I love that advice. I think you're right. That's stuff that every educator can do as far as building those relationships. So, Gus, I want to say thank you to you today. I have learned so much. The name of our podcast is Little Wins because we like to really bring about the little ideas that are, easy to do, free or cheap, and that create these, positive school cultures. So you've got this open door policy. You've got your teams getting out into the hallway and getting to know each other. You're bombarding the classroom on, to praise and recognize teachers. You're creating these relationships with your teams with genuine praise and bringing your teachers into that process. The Friday announcement and of course the I love you all sign off. Like, these are such cool things that you've taught us today. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and out of the hallway for a little bit to spend it with us. And really grateful for everything that you're doing. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. I could probably talk about my school for forever. So I love doing it. I
could hear about it forever. Honestly, I kind of want to come see you guys. That's amazing. This is awesome. Super cool. All right. Well, thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your school year.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a little win? We'd love to hear from you. Learn how we help schools build strong culture at getalpaca.com.